Greetings and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here. I am Shwastika from Team Granite, serving as the allocated session assistant to ensure a seamless experience. Clarnet is India's most trusted and widely used digital platform offering a multitude of arranging services exclusively for the doctors. Clarnet is elated to be chosen as a digital partner for this event organized by Shift Foundation. So today's focus would be the Doctor's Age 12 Power Session for 2025. Let's begin today's session, for which I would like to invite Dr. Harsh Hirani sir to take over. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Swastika and Clara team, for being our backbone and support to this initiative as our LMS partners. So I'm now going to take a few moments to introduce Shift Foundation. So is my screen visible? Are we on full screen?
No, sir.
Okay. Now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's a full screen, right? All right. So, welcome everyone, welcome delegates, welcome shifters for this last session of 12-week master series, which was ongoing. So, many of you have joined the session series now as well. We have a lot of new people who have been part of this session. Rest assured, all the previous sessions are also going to be accessible to you. And so, just to do a brief reintroduction of what SHIFT is. SHIFT stands for Synapse for Healthcare Innovation and Future Technology Foundation. So, SHIFT was started with four founders. Dr. Bharat Sabu, who is a renowned endocrinologist and physician from Indore, Dr. Alok Modi, who is a critical care consultant and also a cardiometabolic physician, Dr. Shambhu, who is also a metabolic physician and a specialist in pharmacology. He has done a DM in pharmacology. So he leads the entire front on that wing. And I'm Dr. Harsh. I'm a diabetologist and a co-founder to the Shift Foundation. So Shift was founded in 2025 as a pioneering non-profit platform dedicated to delivering healthcare innovation and fostering global collaborations for healthcare technology solutions. So our key focus areas include five domains. We work on e-health, artificial intelligence in healthcare, telemedicine, biotech, and digital health. So, our collaborators include healthcare professionals, researchers, technologists, technocrats, and policymakers. The vision of Shift Foundation is to empower equitable, efficient, and innovative healthcare for all. And with this, we incorporate global health initiatives, connected care approach, making things more accessible to every level of healthcare system, and which ultimately leads to an efficient healthcare delivery. So our mission is built on four pillars: innovate, collaborate, educate, and impact. And to make this happen, to make this mission successful, we have a wide range of activities, out of which four key activities at this point of time include research and innovation, publications and reports, capacity building and awareness sessions, collaborations, and policy making. So, in the research and innovation, we have been working on AI, digital health, and health tech through interdisciplinary studies and working on multiple open source solutions as well to tackle the global healthcare challenges. And Shift is proud to share that we have had more than 10 global publications, including a few white papers, a few reports, and crucial trends which are adaptive easily into the healthcare technology space for clinicians to be more tech ready. And in the capacity building and awareness initiatives, the one which we are right now on, which is a 12-week master series, which is through webinars, that is one way. We do workshops. We have also been active in planning something called Techathon and training program. And coming to the collaborations and policy advocacy, we've got multiple institutional collaborations, multiple health authority collaboration, and lots of similar NGOs are working on healthcare technology. So with this, the aim is to unify the fragmented healthcare technology ecosystem by streamlining different aspects through four integrated program pillars we are doing currently. So the program which we are under right now is under the Shift Academy. We have a developer to doctor bridge, which is going to look at techathons and a lot of collaborations where doctors will be directly sitting with engineers to really find the gaps and create solutions which have meaningful impact at clinical practical level. Innovation Acceleration Lab is in pipeline as well as global integration platform. So here is the 12-week journey. Today we come to the last session and the most interesting, most anticipated one, which is prompt engineering for doctors, a kind of a needle in a haystack in the world of AI, because it's so huge, so deep, and we're going to look at what to ask to AI and how to ask it, because a right prompt can actually save 10 hours weekly, and this can be a game changer. And for this, we are honored and privileged to have Mr. Vivek Kandula, who is a managing director of Strux Digital and four other companies. He's a multipreneur and one of the youngest AI geniuses in India, who is a Meta certified media buyer. He has been made possible spending of more than 30 CR on online advertisement, and he has generated 65 plus CR of business in revenue. He has been working and mentoring over 150 plus brands in India. He's also a host of a very popular YouTube podcast series, which is called Backbenching with Vivek. It's world's first Telugu first business podcast series. And along with that, he runs a business, he rather runs a business conglomerate, which has five different business verticals, starting with EdTech, education technology. He's into digital marketing solutions. They have a company which is into agrotech, and they have a company which develops softwares which are AI powered, and then the podcast. So, with this humble introduction, let me welcome Vivek on stage and hand over the session to Vivek. Over to you.
Thank you, Harsh. Thanks for this beautiful introduction. Really appreciate this opportunity and for everyone who is watching this. Very good evening for one and all. So I hope I'm audible. Yeah,
Okay.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So right. So this session, I would like to really cover. This is a very focused session for physicians and doctors on how do you actually go from generic responses using artificial intelligence to all to a clinical grade outputs in just over a period of next 30 to 40 minutes. So most of you might have used these platforms at some point in their life. It might be ChatGPT, Gemini, which is by Google, Claude by Anthropic or Perplexity. So each and every one of the most fastest growing keywords or buzzwords right now is AI, right? And ChatGPT is one platform which has been which took the entire market by storm in the last 2 to 3 years. Now every kid and every adult and every person, even an old grandmother and grandfather, are also using ChatGPT to get a lot of information about themselves and the things happening in the world. Now, this is in the world where everyone say that my jobs are gonna go away. Hey, there's so much irregularities in the market. There's so much change in the market. One thing is definitely is going to stick is that the AI is here to stay. Either we get on the train, understand how to utilize AI, and go forward, or we will be left really backward. So today in this session, we're going to understand exactly how do we use. Again, it doesn't matter which tool is about. Each tool has its own speciality in particularly. But in general, if you are using any of these tools, the most important aspect is the kind of prompt you're doing. We're going to understand what more prompt is about in the upcoming slides, right? So majority of you who might have used ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Perplexity, they might be using something like asking very generic questions. So these questions might be something like, "Hey, tell me about the diabetes management. Can you explain this ABC condition? What's the treatment for hypertension?" Right now, when you do this, what you will get are very generic textbook answers which you probably might have read in your first year textbooks, right? And again, those are not even your first year textbooks, maybe your plus 1 plus 2 textbooks. Pretty basic, very shallow, and the answers will not really stimulate you and will not really serve your purpose. Now the reason behind this is because when you with respect to AI, think of AI is your as your absolutely smart a friend. Now think of AI having a IQ of more than like around like 160 or 180, and all you need to do, but it's absolutely lazy. All you need to do is ask the right question so that you can trigger the right answer. If you ask generic questions, it's going to give you generic answers. It is going to give you irrelevant answers, right? So the gap, what we see consistently, isn't about the efficiency of AI or the capabilities of AI. It is about the capabilities of the person using the AI, right? And that is where we come in today in this session. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to ask the right set of questions so that we can extract very, very focused answers which can help you streamline your operations. Now, when I say streamline your operations, what does it actually mean? The opportunity we have in here is that with the same AI, with that same chat GPT, the same Claude, the same Gemini, the same Perplexity, or say any AI tool you pick up, the same AI, but if you're able to learn how do you ask the right set of questions, your answer is going to be 10x better. Now, I don't need to tell you physicians and doctors in this room on how do you ask right questions. You guys are masters in it. Now, let us say when a customer or sorry, when a patient walks, I keep on saying customer because we are in this business market. But for you, whenever a patient walks in, right, you continuously start prompting him to understand his situation, right? You ask the right set of questions. Hey, do you have this kind of problem? Did you have this kind of problem in your past? Hey, do you get a lot of pain when when I'm touching here, when you're touching here, or do you get a lot of do you get a lot of nausea? Are you getting a lot of headache? Or you ask continuous questions to understand and rule out and to give a very strong diagnosis which you can take forward and you can move forward. Now, understand this. AI works very, very similar to this. All you have to do is to just ask the right question and just like prompt it in a much better way. Now, when you do that, what you get is you can save all the way up to 5 to 10 hours on your weekly tasks. You can create precise, clinically relevant responses. Your information is going to be exactly structured. You do not need to change it. You don't get with generic answers. You're going to get structured in answers, which is going to help you to become much more productive. So the core truth here is AI quality is determined by the question quality you have. The kind of questions you ask will determine which kind of answers you're going to get. So today, our goal is going to be very, very simple. It is to learn the universal framework that works for any clinical task. So before we go any further, again, let me just quickly introduce myself. Hey, I'm Vivek Kandula. I'm the founder and managing director at Strux Private Limited. I have consulted on marketing for and branding and grew around 80 plus brands in healthcare, education, SaaS markets. We help doctors, consultants, and business owners book high quality appointments through high performing frameworks. I also host a podcast called as Backbenching with Vivek, which is a Telugu podcast where we host subject matter experts, doctors, business owners. And we have around 1.7 lakh subscribers. Yeah. So why should you actually listen to me? The reason because is because I am one of the first adapter of AI. I've been using AI from 2020. Now, you might have been, like, again, I think the majority of people have started learning about ChatGPT in 2023 max. We started using by 2020 and we started developing products around AI from 2020. And in the last 4 years, I've been privileged to train more than 1,000 plus people on AI and how to use AI in the most effective way. So I'm really, really happy that I'm going to be interacting with you guys and I'll be able to teach you on how to do this. Right. So understand that so before we go any further and understand about how do we ask the right questions, what is you need to understand what is the difference between how a search engine thinks versus how an AI thinks. Now, what do I mean by search engine? Now, let us say one of the biggest problems every doctor has is all the patients who come to them search the symptoms they have on Google, and the Google gives a template answer, which is probably coming out of WebMD or some other SEO based articles, and they pre-diagnose themselves and they come to you with a lot of fixed notions, right? So that is what search engines do. Now search engines work more effectively on something called as keywords. Now, let us say someone says, "Hey, I have severe migraine and I've been vomiting for the past 2 days." Now, because based on the articles written on Google or on different websites, Google picks up those and that shows it to you. Now, it might not be relevant to you, but AI thinking is absolutely different. Why? When you're doing using AI actually does not replicate what Google says, apart from Perplexity, because Perplexity is a research engine. Now, AI most importantly generates new content. And more importantly, it is very context driven approach. Now, and also it is also the output is also stare as per the input structure. Now, what do I mean? Now, let us say if your question is very particular about your situation, if your output you want is and the structure of the output you want has been shared as a power form of input while you're prompting, the AI will actually give you what exactly you want, not a generic answer like how search engines do, right? So the same question in an AI and a search engine will definitely give you different answers, and it will definitely produce you different outputs, right? So this here is the framework which I suggest all the doctors and physicians use this. Now I want to break it down step by step. Before I break it down step by step, I want to just read it out what this framework is. The framework is one, context, two, specificity, three, constraints, four, structure, and five, verification. Right? So if you're able to master these five steps, in a step by step process, you'll be able to ask better questions, which is going to not only cut down your work time by 5 to 10 hours per week, but also give you much formatted outputs and clinically relevant responses. Right? I hope you guys are with me on this. So let us start with number one, the context. Now, again, you need to define who and what. Now, let us say what is a vague question look like? Tell me about hypertension treatment, right? Now, let us say, add a little bit of context into this. What do I mean by context? Give a little bit of more information to the platform so that it will understand exactly what it has to churn out. Now, if you see the difference between vague, which is tell me about hypertension treatment, versus with context, acting as a primary care physician, reviewing first line treatment options for a 55-year-old with newly diagnosed essential hypertension. Now, if you see the difference between both of them, the second approach has little more context about the patient or the situation the patient is right now in. Right now, when you're doing this, let me show you real time how much difference does it make. Okay, so I'm just opening quickly ChatGPT. Now, in the ChatGPT, I'm going to paste tell me about hypertension treatment in here. So this is pure theory. It is churning out pure theory here. Again, what is lifestyle habits and all that stuff, right? Now, this suggestions or this content, although it is right, it might not be the most ideal thing for the patient you have in your hand right now. Now, let us do the same thing within. I'll just create an open new tab so that you get a clear understanding, so that I can compare it to you for you. So I'm going to copy this exact thing and I'm going to paste it back into a new task. So now by doing this, look at this. It started interacting with you and it started telling, first challenge the lady assumption that the essential hypertension static is called startup pill. It might be it essentially offering hides undiagnosed contributors, uncontrolled sleep apnea, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, Before choosing a first line tag, you need missing data. It is asking you more data for better information. Now, based on this, you can like actually start doing. Did you see there is a difference between the output at the first time and the output the second time? Right? This all happened just because we've added a little bit of context in here. Right? So having context is very, very important. The formula is very, very simple. Acting, let us say you are a specialist. You are someone who treats eyes. You're an ophthalmologist. Let us say you are someone who treats sugar-related diseases. You're a dermatologist. Mention your role in there. Mention your specialization in there. Acting as a diabetologist specialist for type 1 diabetes, I need something da 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 da. Right? Be very, very specific and it can really give you better answers, share like higher levels of sophistication and more detailing. Yeah. Hope this is clear. Let us go to the next aspect of the prompting, right? Specificity layering. Okay. Now, this is very, very important and we need to be very, very smart about what we are inputting here. Right. I'm going to talk about what not to input, but let us just start with what to be inputting, right? So so once you have given this, now how do I manage this patient's diabetes? Again, it is absolutely generic, right? Now let us be a little specific. But remember, do not give personal health information. No PHIs should be shared with the platforms. Keep the details as generic as possible. So here, if you see, we have put it as for a 62-year-old with type 2 diabetes, which HbA1c 8.2%, EGFR 45, history of cardiovascular disease, currently on metformin 2000 milligrams daily. What are the evidence-based escalation options? Now let us do the same exercise again where we are like putting this out as a prompt versus what we're going to do when we're putting the other thing as a prompt. Okay. So I'm going to do a new chat here, putting this as a prompt. Here I'm going to do a new chat again and putting this as a prompt. Right. If you see this, it's asking me, who is this again? So it's asking me to give me more clinical data, right? It is only smart enough to ask me what is the related things. Now, the second time when we actually put in, we actually gave the information. So it actually gave us a very potent answer. Now, I don't know how potent this is medically. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be a doctor at any level, but you being a doctor are able to judge this much better. I think Dr. Harsh can really help to see whether this is right thing or not. But so I've asked for a 60-year-old type 2 diabetes, HbA1c 8.2%, and EGFR 45. History of cardiovascular diseases currently on metformin 2000 milligrams daily. What are the evidence-based escalation options? So, is this right, Harsh? Is this a good,
Yes,
clear
absolutely.
thing?
It's giving a very scientific choice selection based on guidelines because this is what guidelines offer as a strategic escalation. I think one game changer thing could be to even add a guideline, possibly, right? You want an Indian guideline or maybe an American guideline because there
Yes.
are some region specific intricacies also it can cover. And that's what I feel. So I think,
Yes.
yeah, but this is exciting. It's very exciting.
Right. So yeah. So again, what difference did we add? We added the age and key demographics of the audiences. We have added the relevant commodities. We have also given a little bit of current treatments. We've given little specific parameters of the labs and vitals. We've also given a little bit of about the concerns they might have. For example, they have a previous history of cardiovascular disease. Maybe that kind of that concerns will really help you to narrow down the options and give us a much more streamlined approach, which we can like possibly, even consider. Right? This is all brainstorming at this point of time. Right? So again, hitting the balance is absolutely necessary. Don't overwhelm it with a lot of information, and very, very importantly, don't give out personal health information, which is particularly the name, phone number, email IDs. Do not do this, which is not recommended absolutely. Right. So that is the second thing, which is about specificity layering. Specificity layering. Right. The third aspect, which Harsh just mentioned right now, is about guidelines, right? So it is all about constraint definition. What is constraint definition? It's about drawing boundaries and standards and telling exactly what we want and what we do not want and what it has to adhere to. Right now, again, when you're doing this, when you're doing this as generically possible, it should be what should I do for atrial fibrillation, right? So when you're doing this, instead of that, we go with a little bit of constraints. You stick to the standards what your medical practices adhere to on a day-to-day basis, right? So let us say per current ACC/AHA guidelines outline anticoagulation disease based for atrial fibrillation using the right like CHA2, DS2, VAC scoring base recommendations on level AC. So what are we doing here, right? We are structuring a little bit of boundaries. The boundaries are the guidelines which are posed by us, by the government or the medical bodies which you already have, right? Now, what kind of boundaries should we be putting? Constraint types, guideline preferences, evidence level, time frame, and what to avoid is outdated approaches and off labels, right? So this is very, very important. Like as Dr. Harsh mentioned this, it is very, very important that we stick to our practices, our guidelines, so that the output which comes to us is much more streamlined and is in sync with the day-to-day practices and the resources you have as a physician coming out of your clinic. Now, there might be other constraints you might have if you're not in a multi-specialty hospital, you're running out a small clinic. Now, if you are able to keep those constraints also in place, then much better answers can be expected out of this generative AI platforms, which are ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and so on and so forth. Yeah, hope this is clear. The next step, however, is called as the output structuring. Now, what do I mean by output structuring? Now, if you do not exactly tell how you want the output, it is going to be again lazy and is going to do the most easiest possible job to give an answer which might satisfy you. But if you ask the AI to give a structured output the way you want, let us say you guys have consistent SOPs in place, systematic operation procedures in place, which you guys can like continuously which you continuously adhere to. Now take that structured output and put it back into the prompt. Now, if you are doing this, your output is going to be much more streamlined, right? So let us do the same activity which we have done earlier for this too. So explain the workup for anemia versus. So I'm going to do a new chart here versus another new chart. Explain the work present there is free structure. All right. Right. If you see this answer, most people diagnose anemia backwards. First principle start with the complete blood count, classified by MCV. It has given an output based on the laziest structure possible. Good information, basic prompt, nothing special. But look at this. Look at the difference between this and this. Let me just put this side by side so that uh, we can split screen and I can do this. So I will do this. So you're able to see this side by side, right? Look at the one on the left, generic, not really clear, but on the left, it is very, very clear with the information which is exactly talking to you about different molecules, how much should they be used, what do they mean, what is the test about, what should be doing. Everything is much more structured. And trust me, as you guys know, the life becomes much more structured when you actually give them a little bit more structure, right? So that comes to the next part is where you have to tell it how the output structure will look like. How popular structure options will be like is numbered list with specific categories, ask it for a little bit of comparison tables, ask it to show you some algorithms or flowcharts, ask it to show you some pros or cons, ask it to show you some question and answer page, and all of this can be done, right? So this is the fourth aspect of prompting, which is getting the right set of output. But my friends, the game doesn't end here. AI tends to hallucinate a lot. Remember, you here are the subject matter experts. You here are using the AI for brainstorming. This is not a supreme power. You are a supreme power. Now, it is your job to navigate this in the right way. Now, what does that mean? If you feel there is something really off, like how you ask follow-up questions when your patient comes in. Hey, he says, hey, I'm not feeling well. Hey, why don't you feel like how long have you not been feeling well? What have you eaten yesterday? Have you been vomiting? Did you have headache? Right? You ask follow-up questions, right? So make sure that you ask more deeper, more nuanced, clinically validated questions continuously. And start now think of it again, since it's your brainstorming partner, contradict its opinions. It will start to try to defend itself. Now, when it is defending itself, you will either get a different approach or you'll get a new approach. This is consistently what I see when I do it for my other businesses. I might be subject matter expert till a point of time, but what I've learned to be is a great librarian. A great librarian will always be a great prompter because he has basic understanding about a lot of topics. He might not go deep, but he definitely will know that something is going on. So I would recommend you. I would plead you to start becoming, expanding your knowledge base into multiple aspects so that you can prompt in a much better way, and you can figure out if something is wrong, so that you can say that, hey, something is fishy over here, or you just go and fix it, right? So that is the fifth step of prompting. So when again, I'm going to show you a few examples of how a good prompt and a bad prompt looks like. So how do I treat cholesterol? How do I treat cholesterol versus acting as a cardiologist for a 48-year-old female with LDL 165 milligram, da 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 da. So if you look at this, it is following the entire structured way. One, it is giving us a little bit of context, it is giving a little bit of guidelines, it is also giving us a little bit of required data, and also giving the structured output, right? Similarly, if you look at this explain colonoscopy to a patient, there are certain times where you're like, hey, I don't know how do I explain this to this person. You might be filled with a lot of technical jargon in your brain. Now you can also ask the AI to explain colonoscopy to a 50-year-old gentleman with eighth grade level education. So it is basically going to dumb it down. So I'm going to show you very quickly how it's going to look like. So it's going to basically dumb it down, and we used to have a game show called as Kya Panchvi Paas Se Tez Ho, right? It's going to basically do that, and it's going to make sure that even a fifth grader will also understand this. See now, if I just put this, see colonoscopy explanation, simple words, right? You're being advised to get a colonoscopy because it's one of the best ways to find small problems in the bowel before they turn into big problems. So look at this. It's like teaching a small kid, right? It's very, very simple. Think of it like checking the pipes in your home. If you find a tiny blockage early, it's easy to fix. If you wait, it becomes a major repair. Explaining it in the most easiest, simplest terms. Now, if you have to explain it in doctoral terms, it's going to be much more technical, and it might freak out that other people, right? The 52-year-old man, right? So this is what AI can help you with, being a little bit more structured. Uh, yeah, right. So it's very, very important that you constantly, you do not just ask one question, leave the AI. You constantly converse with it. You have constant back and forth with it. You ask a question, you review the response, you refine the question, you make it much better, you ask it to dig deeper, you ask more questions, and you validate if it's right or not, right? So if you look at this in iteration, you say, hey, explain treatment options for heart failure. The response you might have received will be too generic. So now you ask them much more deeper questions with a little bit of more context. For HFREF, it's around EF 30%, focus on guideline directed medical therapy. Now it got you a little bit more. Now deepen the question a little more context, little more guidelines, a little more structured approach. You're going to get a much more deeper, better answer, right? So you're progressively refining, and based on that, you're going to get a very clinically nuanced output, which can help to actually diagnose or also help you to brainstorm and take things further, right? Now, all in well, now there are certain things which should not be done. As I mentioned earlier, do not mention protected health information. No patient identifiers, no names, no emails, no phone numbers, no location, no protected health information should be added into AI. It is a data breach. Do not give specific patient details from actual cases. Create a create a persona and just stick to the persona, but the persona can still have the relevant context information, but do not exactly copy paste the information. This never use AI for direct diagnosis without verification. Understand, end of the day, you are the gatekeepers here. You are the people who have a life to protect. You are the people who are supposed to save a lot of people. So AI do not really depend AI on that. Depend on yourself, depend on your expertise. But AI can help you to get to a better level of understanding and to or get to a level of understanding much faster, right? Do not use this in time critical emergencies, right? You again have to be smarter. You guys are doctors. You guys know better than that, right? Do not focus on the final. Do not use it for final treatment decisions. Always verify the outputs against current evidence. Apply clinical judgment as final arbiter and use hypothetical scenarios. Do not really have put again. Do not put perfect specific patient details. Use hypothetical scenarios. Okay. So now to get the most out of this entire activity, what I would recommend is choose 3 routine tasks to optimize this week. Use AI for this. Apply the 5 step framework in each. No, again, for the 5 step framework, this is a 5 step framework just for you to understand. Use this 5 step framework. Whenever you see there is something which is working really, really well, make it a template and start utilizing AI for your business operations, for your client operations, for your patient operations, and make yourself efficient and productive much more and be the 10x you would like to be. Yeah, so that concludes my session on how do you do AI prompting. I hope you guys have learned a lot. I hope you guys have got a little bit of clarity on how do you utilize AI and how to become much more productive and go forward in the world of AI. I had a lot of fun. Thank you, Dr. Harsh and Dr. Swastika, for inviting me here. It's an absolute privilege. Hope to come back to you here
Thank
soon.
you. Thank
Over to you,
you.
Dr. Harsh.
Thank you so much, Vivek. That was amazing. It was a power pack session. I think something which was really an eye opener for a lot of us. And I really loved the way you could show us in live the nuances, how the behavior of response of an artificial intelligence bot is so dependent on the context we set it to. So I think this reminds me of a very interesting story which I keep on sharing at a lot of the sessions and events. In fact, many of the people who are attending this may also be aware of it. So I once put a query of a better finance planning on a purchase of a and first, I gave it a persona, or rather, I said, you think like a banker, right? Then it set out certain strategy and idea. Then I said, okay, now you should think like a financial planner, act as a financial planner. It gave a total contradictory approach, and rather, it gave me a better savings strategy compared to a banker's approach here. And there was a huge difference in the interest rates, and things were really surprising and amazing at the same time. So, as you rightly said, giving it a persona is very, very critical. when we are interacting with it. In fact, if you put a cardiology query and if you ask it to think like an oncologist, it will it will create a big mess. It will find out things on cardiac tumors which are completely irrelevant to a problem or a symptom which is being there at perspective. So I think these things really help a lot of our clinicians use AI more efficiently and more with more relevance. Otherwise, what happens is you feel a burnout that, okay, whatever I'm putting, I'm just getting too generic things or too irrelevant things or too hallucinatory. This was really exciting. We've got a few questions from audiences. So should I read them out or paste it in the chat box?
Sure, sure. No, no, you can read it out, Harsh. I'm happy to answer.
All right. So there was one very interesting question from one of our attendees. If a physician receives an AI generated plan that does not match patient's context, what is the fastest way to counter or correct it or refine it? So nowadays we see a lot of AI powered patients also, right? They come up with some printouts, which have no relevance. So is there any tool or something where we can just take a picture and do a corrective measure and talk to the patient that, boss, these are the mistakes AI have made? Because many a times the patient turnaround time is a challenge in a lot of settings, especially in rural settings or tier two settings, where the doctors are less, but the patient flow is too heavy. And well, this is something very interesting. Any tool or any trick which could be used here?
Out of top of my head, when you mention, so you mean that the patients are already diagnosing themselves using AI and they're coming to you with a
Yeah, yeah.
treatment plan? Is that what's happening?
I believe that's the
Uh,
scenario doctor is trying to show. Like, somebody's already
so
taken a printout and got it. And, before they enter your consultation, along with their file, they're sending that printout because this one or two scenarios even we have witnessed in our practice, at least in our IT area of the city. So we see this quite regularly. But yeah, what would be that fast
so
trick or approach before the
I'll
patient actually enters the consultation? Because this happens, when the file comes into the consulting chamber, many a times one or two pages you see which are surprisingly interesting and irrelevant at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So again, this is what I would say. Like whenever I go to my local doctor here, hey, I go to him and I start like giving him a little bit of diagnosis from my side based on very non-doctorial experience I have. And he's going to look at me very patiently and he's going to say, you know what? I studied a lot to become a doctor. Please don't do my job for myself. Right? I think, like, see, we are taking a session here for doctors to utilize AI, and
Yeah.
you yourself, with the context, with parameters exactly, are able to say what is right and what is wrong when an answer comes out. A
Correct.
patient will be as similar to me. Like, he's going to start just reading out things, and he's going to be like, "Wow, this is the most medically right thing." It might be absolute garbage and he will
Perfect.
not have any clue. So what I would recommend is please actively just like take that paper, throw it out, and please use your brain and also use your brain with using AI to come back with that again document. Maybe that document might match, but might not match. I would definitely not say. Even when if my team comes to me and says that, hey, Vivek, you want to do this, I come generate with AI. I say like, boss, I understand that you have put in the effort, but thank you for that. But no, I'm not going to use it. Let me just use my brain a little bit. Let me do the due diligence, come back to me later with the basic information, then use AI to take it to the next level. But starting with AI is such a bad option.
Right, right. I think this links to another question from one another doctor. I think he's a professor to a college. So he's mentioning that there are a lot of junior doctors who often come up with vague reports, and we identified clinically from the patient's, the experience of so many years and all. But then, how to, this is very interesting. How do you find those AI flags? See, apart from the clinical acumen, is there a tool to vet? Or rather something like AI detection tool? Like, is there any tool which exists which can detect AI?
Surprisingly, not. We don't
Oh,
have one. But again, what I've realized over a period of time is you guys are getting trained on how do you use AI. And now you
right.
are like the top 0.00001%. trust me on that. No one knows how to use AI. So whenever someone is inputting a generic information, generic prompt, you're gonna get very generic answers. If you have seen, I've shown you a different example between a right good prompt or this a vague
Right,
answer, right? Now, when you do this, you will obviously see certain kind of patterns and words being repeated. Whenever you see certain words can being repeated,
right.
that's AI for sure.
Perfect.
Uh, right? For example, like it starts using very first world language,
Ah,
right?
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So if I'll again, if I can, I'll show you something which I've input on my AI. So I think that
Yes,
will
please.
really help you guys
Yes, yes.
to,
This is what we want to actually learn. This is awesome.
yeah. So what I've done is, just close this. I've asked AI to actually not say. So AI tends to hame hamelana is something we say, right? Like if you say yes something and AI says like the same thing back to you, right? So what I've done is I've created a custom instruction which says from
Okay.
now on, stop being agreeable and act as a brutally honest, high level advisor and mirror. Don't validate me. Don't soften the truth. Don't flatter. Challenge my thinking. Question my assumption and expose the blind spots I'm avoiding. Be direct, rational, and unfiltered. If my reasoning is weak, dissect it and show why. If I'm fooling myself or lying to myself, point it out. If I'm avoiding something uncomfortable or wasting time, call it out, and especially the opportunity cost. So everything I just like told it that hey, I might not be the most
Wow.
perfect person in the world. Just call me out if whenever you possible. So this makes my AI my best critique, right? So this gives me a
Yes.
better answer. So yeah, you can. I think this can really help. You guys can like do something very similar for yourself,
Wow.
and it really helps.
This is a brilliant, brilliant parlor trick. I mean, really, because it is so interesting that we can actually. So this is actually going to be helpful for all of us as doctors, because if we have our root, chatbot behave with this level of criticality and clarity, I think it's really going to help get genuine and answers which do not misdirect us. I think there's one more question, and I think I can probably add on this one as an answer. There's a gentleman who is asking, there are a lot of fake references with citations which a lot of LLMs are generating. How do we filter it out? So I'll take an answer to this, but please add a
Yes,
layer on
please.
it,
Yes,
Vivek.
please.
So I
For
think what we
me,
have
the
been, yeah,
citations, yeah, I'm so sorry. For me, citations, I do not use AI like ChatGPT, Claude, or anything for research. They hallucinate a lot. I only
yes,
use Perplexity for research. Perplexity is the only tool which can actually grab citations. Rest everything
correct.
is just like it's not really the right set. That is my answer for this. You know better. I would.
Absolutely. I was actually going to delve into a similar thing. So, as you rightly said, so what we normally suggest or do is, so I'm part of a few journals as an editor and a reviewer board, and a lot of my seniors and mentors are editor in chief of a few journals, and nowadays they're getting a lot of AI triggered or AI written articles or articles based on AI written with AI, which is fair if declared. But if it's an undeclared copy paste thing, it doesn't justify to even qualify as an acceptance for a journal. And I think this is where the person who's asking question probably is wanting to hint out at the last section of reference citations of a journal or an article. So, as you rightly said, perplexity is a great, great way to really verify it. But one thing what I noticed is certain articles which are in pre-publishing state, perplexity often does not find it and flags it as unable to justify. So this is where a bot which is called Quill bot, which I think all of you can benefit
Yes.
from, comes into picture. It also has AI detection on the references part. There's a dedicated tool called AI detection, which just looks into the references. If they are AI, rather AI ने बना दिया है out of thin air, it will pick it and directly point out that was these are relevant references. So you need to verify this and challenge this. So that's, I think, one thing which I can add as a value. But yeah, I think this was an exciting question. So as you said, I think perplexity is a very genuine, I think, reference tracker and validator. This is very nice. So I think this is one interesting one. How can AI provide decision support for incomplete lab panels, which are common in small clinics without over relying on missing values. So the question here is, let's say you are working in a rural setting where you don't have access to all the advanced reports. But is there a prompt which can be given to an AI bot where whatever minimal reports it has, it computes a projection or a prediction based on those limited parameters and cause an interrelatable outcome? I think this is what probably the person is trying to ask. Is there a way which AI can do this?
So again, it depends. Again, going back to our structure of the prompt, it goes on to the output aspect of it, right? Now, let us say you need 10 parameters and you are left out with only 6 parameters, and the rest of the 4 parameters are not really with you. But what you can ask is, hey, give me all possible solutions based on the 6 parameters and also project it. So it's going to give you 4 to 5 different options, out of which you can also evaluate with your medical expertise on which might be right, and you can take a decision based on that. Now, I keep on telling you that, like, hey, this is not a supreme tool. It is quite close to it being very, very smart, and you can utilize it for its intelligence. But end of the day, it has its limitations. This is where yeah, you and your experience comes in. Now, this chat GPT and all of this are not trained on medical information. They're trained
Correct.
on a lot of other information, right? Now, you with your whole expertise, or your seniors expertise, or your entire medical data expertise you have, you come with a different perspective which ChatGPT definitely might not have, based on the local setting, or you might have studied particular information that, hey, in this area, typhoid is very, very common because of ABC, right? In
Right.
this area, malaria is very, very common. Now, this might be an advancement on malaria, right? So out of the 4 options you get, you can then choose one and say that, hey, this be about because of an aftermath of malaria being here, right? So you have a little bit of context. So mix both worlds, ask it for more options, identify the most potent options, ask much more deeper questions. I think that is the way to go about this.
Absolutely. I think this is phenomenal. So I think we are just about to end our session. We have, I think, 5 more minutes to go, and I'll end this with a last question from the audience. So though we have a few more, but I think we'll have to respect the time window because the Zoom will stop working at 10. So let's take this one. So there's a ask from the audience where they're just asking, what's your prompt response feedback on each of the LLMs in your practical use? Like out of, say, you showed us Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, and ChatGPT. Out of these four, what is that pattern which each of them have, and for what type of prompting which is better in a kind of broader use, not just medical specific, but a general use scenarios which excels at what when prompted in the right way. So just that perspective
Chat.
somebody wants to know.
So ChatGPT is really good with respect to broader things. Claude is really good with writing, right? If you want to write like a real marketer, or a person who is a narrator or a speaker, uh, a good conversationalist, Claude is really, really good at it. Claude does a really good job in writing long form SOPs and articles, operational documents. I've literally created like 200 pages worth of my operational documents for my entire marketing company agencies and my software companies using Claude. I sat down for like a 3 day stretch and I started like churning out a lot of things. It really helps. Gemini is really good with respect to their research, right?
Right.
Google has this database. Gemini is very, very good with its research. Now, again, that comes as a pro feature. Gemini, I see Gemini hallucinating a lot. It is not really as potent as ChatGPT or Claude for me, but its pro version, when it's talking about deep research, absolutely fantastic. Perplexity will not even come close. But Perplexity does a really good job if you want a very on point answer without hallucinating. So everything has a different use case.
Correct.
Now you need to have all of them in your arsenal and use like find the right weapon for the right battle. So that is how I see it.
Wow. Superb, superb. I think this is a great summary because this clarifies a lot of approach routes. Now, let's say you want a kind of terminology, evidence tracking. I think that's where Perplexity will play a great role for Claude. When you're wanting a detailed understanding of a subject matter, or rather creating something on around that, I think that'd be a great. You want to write a blog, I think that would be a great scenario because many of the doctors do write some interesting clinical case studies where they have documented certain things, but it's just that framing those things into more presentable way. I think that's where this really comes handy. I think this is great. Okay, now one question from my side, the last one. How's your experience with Grok? It's a little newer kid on block, at least in Indian user base. But how's your experience and what's that unique thing you find about it which is different from all four?
So Grok has been trained on Twitter database. Now Twitter is a chaotic animal and Grok has been trained on it. So Grok tends to uh, go with polar opinions, very polar opposite opinions. Again, it tries to trigger you at every turn. That's what I've seen. But very potent tool by itself, not really the standard of Claude by Anthropic or ChatGPT. It's still on the way. But I guess with respect to human-like conversation, Grok is best because it's been trained by human-like conversations. So I
Right.
think Grok is really good at that level.
Can we safely consider a use scenario where a psychologist wants to create a right kind of conversational atmosphere for a client, who they probably have a back history about? I think Grok could be a very good help here because it really knows how to hit or trigger the right kind of conversations. Could it? Like just
Absolutely,
this.
absolutely. I think that's a best use case I can ever imagine.
Wow. Phenomenal. I think this is great. This was an amazing conversation, amazing learning, amazing session. Vivek, thank you for your time and the entire way you structured the session. It was truly amazing, eye opener, and lots of learning for us today. And with this, we come to the end of 12-week series. We want to humbly thank all the delegates who have been with us for the last 12 weeks, every Friday, 9 to 10, and embarking on this amazing journey. The kind of questions we've received throughout the 12 weeks has been amazing. And I'm sure most of them have been answered by our elite speakers. I'm really thankful to my co founders, Dr. Bharat, Dr. Alok, Dr. Shambhu, who have been there in their rotation cycle at every sessions with us. In fact, right from the ideation to where we are today, it's been an amazing journey for us as a team. And we are also privileged to have our newly appointed directors in the company, starting with Dr. Vipul Chawla. He takes care of media and communications, and it's his brainchild to take this forward to a larger audience base and so forth. And in fact, right now only we are at 12th week, but just a couple of days back the team is pumped up for another 12-week series on similar set of topics, which we have been tapping. So for all the viewers who are with us today, I'm sure we have been receiving some feedback that few of you have not been receiving the session links, but in a matter of few days it will be uploaded on the LMS link through which you will be able to access all the 12 sessions, and we are always there for you to give you access to any of the sessions you have missed in this 12 weeks of tenure. So thank you, Clarinet. Thank you, Swastika. Thank you to your entire team. Thank you to Rituji, who was behind the creatives and the digital designing. Thank you to Pinky ji, who had been instrumental in forging this collaboration with Clarinet. And we look forward for many more such initiatives and sessions with you all. Thank you, everyone. Wish you everyone a great evening and a good night. Over to you, Swastika.
So thank you so much, sir, for giving us this opportunity to host a session in our platform. And I hope you all had a seamless experience during this series, sir. So with all of due permission, we are concluding the session in here for today and looking forward to have you again in our platform very soon. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Brilliant. Have a good day. Good night.